was she had done, a lot of stuff to do with the markings, and like spirit was directing her. She'd get on a plane and ask the people on the plane their birthday, and all of these people would be born during 25 to 28 degrees within Taurus or Scorpio. And it would mean everybody in the restaurant had the, like, that's kind of weird, like it's not like it's a vast time or but everywhere she went for a while, this was happening to her. That's why she kept asking and asking. Juice or something that would take people on tours of the Great Pyramid. And she and a couple of other people went in and they did like activations in a sarcophagus. So, like, maybe we have like, magnetism with certain people or aura with a couple of things, but it's not like on a grand, like, oh, everybody knows your name. Like, Marilyn Monroe had a lot of them with like Venus. That's not a surprise. This Anna Nicole Smith or something, she was like a porn star. She had a lot of them. And she had like Cygnus stars that were aligned at that time, why they may have been famous or why they may have had issues in this area over that area. But that is a thing that happens where you'll see a famous person be like, oh my God, like Elvis Presley, okay? Probably had a wicked lot. I feel like star seeds are more, so much to do that. You know what I mean? Like, you guys may be attracted to somebody famous, you may notice them, but you probably aren't like throwing your bra at them or, being like to that degree. And it's probably because you like recognize it, or right now, that type of stuff is coming up, like that energy or the people who feel that way because of that energy. Like, you may emit some vibration that just makes people get a little, weird about you or can't let go of you. And we see that with the twin flames, like when the divine feminines go through their chaser parts. I feel like that's kind of in a way how it manifests in the star seeds or in the um, awakened ones, because they're like awakening, they're healing, and as they heal and as they grow, I feel like they kind of, oh, okay, let me like clear that away, let me not be a crazy person. People start acting a little bit more like unable to control their desires, or they start being like in that way of like, I love you, and like, just I can't forget you, or you're amazing. Yeah, there was a lot of girls that had done that to me over the years. There was a girl that would like drive her bike back and forth around like the end of my driveway, but my driveway wasn't like one of those ones that it made sense to do that to. It was like a main street. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're gonna get hit by a car. um but there's that, I don't know, there's just like a essence or something. And when I was talking to my dad about it earlier, he was saying how like he saw a woman that used to come here do that type of thing with me then, and she in her head had like built up something that wasn't real. Like, she thought, she met me, I was in a relationship with the person I was living with. She never said like anything along the lines of like, we're boyfriend girlfriend, we're going on a date or anything like that. She'd come to my events and then she'd be like, let me drive you to your event, or let me, carry your bag. Oh, here's a gift. Oh, here's a gift for the dog. Like, she'd come with like $100 worth of dog treats every week. And it started getting more and more and more increased over time. And it ended up leading up to a time where somebody else showed up here. And when that other person showed up here, she like wiped out everybody. All my friends decided, like, just one by one went away as this other came in. But she ended up being like, it's obvious you're never going to feel the way I feel about you, and basically broke up with me. But we were never together, was the weird part about it. Um, so I feel like anything like that, if you've had that experience with people where there's just been like a miscommunication or just unhealthy attachments, or even just like, what? Like, I didn't even realize. Um, we may be seeing those things come back up to the surface right now to balance out or to clear it away, or just to like maybe do something different than we did last time, because justice, fairness, this says the situation will be handled in a fair and just manner, justice and balance, everything will balance itself in divine order. Observe what is true and fair, and receive what is your heart's desires and deserves. Twin, I used to be like crazy about them. I wouldn't miss if they sent me a text. I wouldn't miss if there was an whatever, any type of thing that had their name on it. I'd be like, beep, 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 beep. Recently, they sent a message. I didn't see it for 2 weeks. And then they sent another message, and I still didn't see it for like hours. And then I realized, like, oh shit, wow, like I'm not crazy person right now. Or like the fact that that went under my radar kind of shows that I'm healing that imbalance of crazy like attachment to like, oh my God, they're so special. And it was kind of in a way like them getting a little bit of justice or fairness, because they've ghosted me, they've ignored me, I've sent them messages that they didn't respond to. So for me to not respond to them for 2 weeks after 22 years of always doing that, I feel like is kind of the types of things we may see playing out, even if you're not like conscious of it. Because I was like, I feel like spirit like stepped in and was like, we're not even going to show you, because if we show you, you're too soft. You're like, you're going to feel bad. You're going to say sorry or something. Because I do that. Like, I feel like everybody deserves human decency. Like, oh, hey, you're human. You're alive. Like, I'll acknowledge your presence. Unless I don't like you, I hate you, and you're stalking me, I'm not going to acknowledge your presence. But with that situation, I would have probably said something, but I think they needed to feel that for a couple of weeks, especially with the things that I was posting. I had no idea that they had messaged me, and I'm like, bridges are burning and saying like, no clue. And then the thing I posted on Divine Essentials channel, I was like, hey, how are you? Meaning my community, hey, how are you guys? But that was exactly what he had sent to me in that first message that I missed. I'm like, oh my God. So I definitely think that you're going to probably see things that may not be like, whoa, at first. You may not acknowledge it or notice it like right out the gate, but it's probably for a higher divine purpose to balance or restore things that maybe weren't so great. And if you're someone like me who has a tendency to not maybe owing that, I feel like is why she got like instant, you know, like something being given back to her in that moment when she did what she did. Because if she had not done what she had thought about doing something else, but I was like, maybe you should not, because that's ego or fear or like self-sabotage. Sometimes the first thing like comes up inside of us, it's like, oh, I might do this. It may not lead it to our justice and balance or to a good, fair experience with people, or like the circumstances behind what's happening in our life. But when we're detached, when we're not like over analyzing, and we're not, guarding or protecting or, putting on a show, sometimes we're like we feel like we can't tell a certain person like, oh, I'm not feeling good, or, oh, I, blah, blah. Like we come up with something so not real, or like over the top to like make up for whatever, rather than just being real. So I think that's going to pay right now for people, is like to just be real, just be authentic, just be who you really are. Because I think if you've dealt with a twin flame, or even just somebody you really liked romantically, when you really like somebody romantically, you have a tendency to not be like your true self. It's like, oh, I don't want to say that and have them think this, or I don't want. Find your balance and fulfill your karma. Fairness, dignity, and integrity. You figure out why I've been, allowing that. So this says the situation will be handled in a fair and just manner. I'm laughing because I recorded a reading earlier today, and I haven't posted it yet. Like I have it; it's all set to go. But I literally talked about things in it that I've never even. I don't usually go to that level when I do public readings. I'm not like, I don't put my own. If I put my own stuff in there, it's like a maybe, could have, whoa, like, shrouded underneath the high priestess. Like, is that, was that, any, because I know other people out there resonate with certain things because they're experiencing those certain things. But I'm not putting my own, like, I just had that happen type of verbalizing of it. But I think because of this energy, because of this stuff, I did mention, I was like, I talk to you ever again, and it doesn't feel good, and it hurts, and it's like sucky. And it wasn't me doing it to them. I didn't take that into my hands to be like, I deliver pain, but it's what happened. And I feel like that's, like, it's just the energy right now. And that vulnerability of me even saying to them, like, hey, like, this is what happened. And giving the honesty of, hey, dude, like, I didn't mean, because I also had other things happen that I didn't notice at first because I was in a victim place when, like, we were talking, all of a sudden they did something. I was a victim of what they did. But then I realized later on what they did was because of what I did or didn't do or didn't say. Because I dropped the ball in this area where they're sensitive, it led to this, which isn't good. It sucks, but it's because neither one of us are communicating, being vulnerable, or just like, putting the ego aside for the greater good of the whole thing. Like, sure, like I had Abby coming to stay with me for a month, and I didn't say that it was Abby that was coming to stay with me for a month when I talked to that person, so they may have thought that a man was coming to stay with me for a month, which I could see that being kind of like, but I've never done anything like that to them for them to think that. But that doesn't mean they don't think that. And that doesn't mean somebody else hasn't done that to them, or that's just where their default is. And I do the same thing because I've been through that. I've been through similar things, like with them, you know, talking to somebody else or choosing to go deal with, like, when we first connected 5 years ago after our big break, they were like, oh, I'm seeing somebody else, was the reasoning for why they stopped answering me. But I was like, I was under the impression we were seeing each other. So they've done it to me before. So, like, my fear of them doing it again kind of has like some ground, but I've never done that to them. So I wasn't even seeing that as like in the realm of possibility. But I do know that I could have been more upfront and being like, hey, Abby's coming for a month. Not as intimidating as some mysterious person, and other circumstances that were involved probably didn't go so well. Members, huh? But even in that is, again, it's like karma being like, hey, like you're gonna end up like getting back around in a circle to like come back to this thing over and over till you just get it right. So stop being stupid, put the ego aside, stop expecting the worst or planning from like whatever, and just be vulnerable. But if you watch the reading, you'll probably understand more of what I'm saying. Um, so this is various meanings of this card. It says a lawsuit will be resolved. A dispute will end harmoniously. You'll be treated fairly. Keep everyone's needs in mind during negotiations. Release guilt and shame, as these emotions can attract a punishing attack. I looked up in my window and I was like, ah! There's definitely something out. Like, I think if I turn the window, but it's like, let me blow it up. Showdowns! I'm scared. But like, I can see her. Like, I could see her. I looked and I was like, wow! Like long dark hair. Could be Maat. But it's happened before where other people have seen her. Does it not fucking show? Like, it showed. So we have one more card with her, and this is the one that has like the little invocations. That girl, actually, that I was just talking about, the one that was like, I'm breaking up with you. She had a big white cockatoo. Yeah, I think the big one's a cockatoos, right? It was big, and it was like a crescent one. It had like a yellowy and that's my impression of the bird. Oh. Yeah, piece of paper. I brought up recently too. I don't know why I'm like bringing bells to this. I guess we need bells at this thing. I also have purification, psychic cleansing oil, and purification oil. And then I found this downstairs recently. It's like a hook, like a metal hooky hook. And I found a metal bell in the drawer down there. It's probably that lady's. There we go. Huge monster bucket full of stuff. And then I got this. It's kind of scary. Like there's like it's like a dipstick, and then there's this thing that's like the weight. How these things work? I feel like it's like for meat, maybe. Like, it's kind of scary, especially that so you can kind of like see what's going on. I've also got this type of scale system. My dream catcher bees, fluffy. When I did angel stuff with this woman from Blue Angel was the name of the first center I went to work and like learn things. She said that when you find feathers, like if you find one that's kind of like this, probably not this big, but this is like the protective feather because it's. And then I found out that lady that I sanded, I can fix her. Like, how do you get it from being like rough to being nice? You just put epoxy. Two of you. And then anybody who listens afterwards, they can add their intention. But hopefully this will help to start the process of releasing that. Allow yourself to relax. And let go of the outside world. Coming back into this moment, awareness, and felt. Reaching up through your feet, rising up your calves. Her love and her heartbeat. Cleansing, grounding, protecting. And thank your feet and your legs for carrying you so far on the journey. And gratitude to Pachamama, Gaia, for being there every step of the way. Delivering the unspoken. Brushing through your hair. And the water. Cleansing. Supporting your emotions. Igniting. Desire. Protection. Illumination. Serpent. Feel her face in the spine. Bringing the light and transformation. Essence. As we call on the winds, bridge, to mother your inner child, womb, or attack, and instead allow that child to create, to dance, to sing, and to enjoy life. As we call on the winds of the north, the ancient ones. Oh, it's so weird to me how like these things happen, like these energies or like these like these goddesses, and like, I remember like the first thing that brought it up for me, but I remember like Maat came in, like I thought that this was going to be Lilith, and then Maat showed up, and then it was like, oh, I have this thing from Maat, and then that woman Nikki that I wrote about. It was like, it's always like, just like everything's interwoven, and but I think that also just gets more so like that as we go on our path, like when we do this stuff and we like actually show up and like put our energy, our time into it and pay attention to that. Like there was some guy that was I think I saw a thing last night and I was listening to a little bit of it about that he was in the movie The Secret, I believe, and he was talking about like awareness, which is basically like we all have awareness, but like people make it out to be this like mysterious thing, or like it's like, oh, it's like a hard thing to have, or like it's like out of our, like out of the grips, or like only the people who have been like, you know, a shaman or somebody's like locked in a mountain. But we have awareness all the time. If we didn't have awareness, we wouldn't, like we wouldn't be communicating or doing or being or existing. Like just being is existing and creating and having awareness. We may not be as aware as we should be sometimes, or we allow ourselves to like detach. Like that's, I think, something big with trauma is like a disassociation from feeling and awareness. But there's also like there's the part of it like on a physical level, but then I feel like it's almost because of that, like we like shut down physically, that our mind is like, whoa, like it opens up to this awareness of other worlds or other energies, other entities, other dimensions. And I don't know, maybe it could even just even be like we need to escape this physical material world at first, possibly, like is what leads us to seek this or find this. But I think it also saves us. But I like the way that he was like saying this, like it's not like a big secret thing that like you get it, like awareness. It's just awareness. It's like we're in a room, and when you ask people like, oh, what are you aware of in the room, they're like, oh, the wall or the color of this or the, but they're not aware of the space that's like right, like what makes up the most of the room is the space, the atoms, the energy. That's the majority of our existence, is the unseen. But that unseen is that like quantum connection to the other dimensions. It's like how we take that leap forward, or how we have these weird things happen that seem like wow, but it's, we're playing it out and we're creating it through our awareness of it. If we weren't aware of it, we wouldn't know who, and who is we, like we're the one seeing it. But when we get triggered, when we're upset, when we feel bad or mad or whatever, it's not really like the one that's aware of it. It's like it's a reaction of the ego. But like your awareness, like you're aware of you becoming triggered, and you like watching it. Like there's a you within you that's aware of all. It just is an observer. But that's what a lot of people say is like try to be the observer rather than the victim, or rather than the one in the moment of the trigger of I'm upset, I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm this, I'm that. Just being aware of why, like what made you feel jealous or mad or sad or whatever. Because you're probably not like the the aware you is going to be aware of the whole thing. And if you go up to that awareness, you kind of like override that crappy place of like the jealousy, the resentment, the sadness, or anything like that that could be playing out or getting like boop 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 in us. And it was weird. It was like there were some things he said that I didn't really resonate with, and then other things that was kind of like, yeah, I can understand that concept, or feel like that's something that we should be more mindful of, or could help people to like stop being within a certain experience or feeling or emotion, or just like I think a lot of us are reactive to things. And I notice like I freaking flip out, like I go into like a spiral. But I notice, like I just said, I notice I've noticed myself do that weird shit that I do, and I'm still doing it because I'm triggered by being human. The dog pissed me off and the thing happened, and and I freak out. But that awareness of it is like, the step above it of like, hey, why don't you just come up here and be like, whoa, why don't you stop doing that? Because there's no reason. You're just making like, unnecessary stress and burdens for yourself. But I had never really thought of it like that before. Like, who is that one that's aware? Because I have a couple of people up here, but they weren't there before. Before I woke up, there was like, I don't even know what was going on up there. Probably not much. But when I had the awakening, it was like all this information, all these awarenesses. And then when I channel, there's like the three there's like the maiden, the crone, the other one. Like, I feel like that's kind of like they represent that. But then I read in shaman, like a shaman book, the guy was saying that like we all have that. There's the younger version of us. There's like the middle-aged version of us, and then there's the older version of us. So it's like the maiden and the crone and all of that. But it's in a man too. It's in a woman. It's just these versions, like our inner child, our adult self, and then like the one that's been like fucking fed up with like this existence and is got a little bit more boundaries and wisdom behind them. But we're already able to access it right now because there is no linear thing. There's no separation from, and we already have, like, we're already there. There's a version of us existing as that right now somewhere, and we're just like tapping into that when we tap into that. Some people don't do it, or they haven't done it yet, but they can. Nobody's like shut off from that. And I used to think like, oh, the emissaries were like outside of me or like totally other people. But then after a while of channeling them and getting their message, I was like, oh, it's me. Like it's my I am presence from the Pleiades. And then there's different versions